Hello and welcome to the Race Department Open Wheel Championship using the Game.gar game by Riser Studios, and today we're at the Santa Cruz do Sul circuit using the Formula 3 cars, and Bram Hengevold took pole position from Anthony Levine. Frank Steinbach and James Johnson, a newcomer to the series, were on row 2 with Anders Nielsen and another newcomer, Jack Nichols, who's in Rodrigo Suarez's car, on row 3. Kenneth Yerman and Robert Wiesenmüller, both Germans, were on row 4 of the grid, with Stefan Wudenberg and Simon Kiloff rounding out the top 10, so as the field wait patiently on the grid for the red lights to appear and then go out, and we will be racing. And it's Bram Hengevold on the left of the picture, Anthony Levine on the right, and Hengevold and Levine both get bad getaways, and James Johnson's coming through the middle, and Steinbach as well, and that's number 94, which is Nichols, and up on the left is Anders Nielsen. He's on the bank, he's just about going to recover that one, but into turn 1 it's Kenneth Yerman who leads from James Johnson, with Hengevold demoted to 3rd, although Kenneth Yerman's gone very wide indeed, and Hengevold sneaks back through, so Hengevold immediately back into the lead as the field streamed through the chicane, and everyone seems to have got through there absolutely fine. Let's have a look at what happened to Nielsen. So Nielsen got a bad getaway, not as bad as Levine's, and there comes Yerman, and Yerman just trying to squeeze through too tight a gap, and Nielsen got involved with Wiesenmüller there as well. Not his fault actually in that one, just a gap that was narrowing that Kenneth Yerman was trying to go through. Here we are with Jules Knups, and he's following Leonardo Ferreira, and they're both battling. I think Leonardo Ferreira's battling with one of the Daredevils guys, perhaps. And on the right of the screen, we saw Remco de Wild, I believe, going off track. I wonder what happened to him. Knups has lost a few positions. That looks like Dave Begley going through as well. Let's have a look at what happened to Remco de Wild. So he just lost the back end of his car coming through the right-hander, and just went smashing into the bar. You can hear the noise in the background. We're on board with Scott Webber, and he's following Simon Kiloff, who's very sideways off the final corner, and as they head down the pit straight, Scott Webber's going to have a go at him, and in fact he's made the move stick already as they head into turn 1. So Scott Webber driving the Daredevil's car, as I was saying, and that's Robert Wiesenmüller, I believe, behind them. So Wiesenmüller has dropped back significantly from the start. Here's Dave Begley following Leonardo Ferreira, and Ferreira a little bit wide, and he's covering from Begley, so Begley's going to have to dip back out of the slipstream and go on the right hand side of the track. Ferreira on the inside for turn 1, and coming through as well is Jules Knups, and in the background that looks like de Wild perhaps off once again, and he's in the wars, isn't he? Begley manages to sneak through meanwhile past Leonardo Ferreira. Perhaps it was Matt Ben actually. We're going to perhaps see a replay of that now, and that's Anders Nielsen and Kieran Svart battling with him, and in fact there we go, Remco de Wild bouncing across the grass, and he's got sideways as well, and Noel Spence comes through, and it's all going on in the background there, and so Remco in the wards early on. That's twice on the first lap he's been off the track. Here's Simon Kiloff and on board with Robert Wiesenmüller, and Kiloff's in behind Scott Webber, and Scott Webber, oh, and Kiloff lost the back end there and nearly got it sideways, and through goes Robert Wiesenmüller. He's straight onto the back of Scott Webber, and who's that going off? Dave Begley. No one can keep it on the track at the early stage of this race, and Webber's in behind Begley. Wiesenmüller trying to go around the outside, and Webber gives him room, and Wiesenmüller's going to sneak up the inside here surely, and does so, and takes position away from Scott Webber, and in fact it could have been Scott Webber earlier on when I was commentating on Remco de Wild going off the track. So the leaders come through, and there goes oh, and there goes Webber. He's sideways across the track. Is he going to be able to rejoin Simon Kiloff into the side? And Simon Kiloff's got huge damage. He's lost a wheel, and that's massive contact, and there's going to be more contact, and Simon Kiloff, unbelievable crash straight into the side of Scott Webber's stricken car, and Webber's going to be able to continue, but he's got monumental damage. And let's have a look at a replay of that. So Kiloff coming over the chicane, completely unsighted, slam straight into the side, and that's Jules Knups involved as well. He's on the bank, and Kiloff, look at the wreck he's made, and into the back of him goes Noel Spence as well. So just an unbelievable crash here, and yeah, Jules Knups was involved as well. So several cars involved, and it's all Scott Webber's mistake that caused that. Here is Stefan Wudenberg and Wiesenmüller and Wudenberg going off track a little bit there. That looked like a little bit of lag. So the number 41 machine covering from Wiesenmuller, but Wiesenmuller has got the run out of the final corner. He's on the inside as they head towards turn 1. Woudenberg looking to cover. He breaks earlier than Wiesenmuller and lets him go through. The sensible driving from Woudenberg. He knows that Wiesenmuller is very similar pace, but probably has the slightly better race pace, as we've seen earlier in the season. Here's Frank Steinbach and Jack Nicholls, and Jack Nicholls in the green and yellow machine, a newcomer to the series, and he's in behind Steinbach. And Steinbach trying to cover, and that's Leonardo Ferreira recovering, so obviously he's pitted for damage. And through on the inside goes Jack Nicholls, so Nicholls making that position as they bounce through the chicane. And now we're looking at Jule Knups, and Jule Knups is very sideways indeed as he goes round the left-hander, just about recovers. And now we're on board with Matt Venn, and there is the recovering Jule Knups in front of us. And you can see there's a little bit of smoke coming off his tyres, and Matt Venn's going through on the inside. Don't touch wheels, guys, that's very dangerous there, but they just about survive unscathed. And the number 88 machine of Jule Knups, the Dutchman, is lost out to Matt Venn, although he's in the slipstream. And Matt will have to be a little bit careful to defend as they head towards turn 1. Knups goes late on the brakes, goes up the inside, and takes the position back from Matt Venn. That's a well-worked move from Knups. He used the slipstream well, ducked out, and Matt Venn wasn't particularly defensive, it has to be said. Here's Ken Hunter defending from Jule Knups. So Ken Hunter obviously managing to defend so far from Knups, but Knups has got Matt Venn still for company behind him, and they obviously caught the back of Hunter, who's driving for the well, not for the Daredevils, he's driving for the Oso Devils. And through on the inside goes Knups, and Matt Venn looking for a way through as well. Ken Hunter looking for a way back past Knups on the inside, but there's no way through there. And the South African will have to give that one up. Back towards the front of the field, lap 17, here's Dave Begley and Anders Nielsen, and Begley in front of Nielsen. Nielsen in the black and yellow number 98 machine, and the Swede is looking for a way through on the inside of Begley, and Begley's pretty much given him that one, although Nielsen's very late on the brakes indeed, and he's perhaps too late. Dave Begley looking for a way through back on the inside, but no, Nielsen has done enough, so Nielsen takes the position from Dave Begley. Here is Nicholls, and he's battling still with Steinbach, so Steinbach hasn't lost out too badly since Nicholls caught and overtook him. And and he's going off track, is Nicholls. Nicholls gone off track. Is he going to be up the bank? Just about avoids doing so, but he's lost out big time. And in the background there's another car. I couldn't quite see who that was, and it must have been Wiesenmuller, because here is Wiesenmuller all over the back of Nicholls. So Jack Nicholls, number 84 yellow and green machine, covering from the blue RPM machine of Wiesenmuller, and Wiesenmuller sends him a dummy. Looks to go up the inside, gets him to cover and goes straight on the outside. He's still on the outside. Nicholls braking too late, so Wiesenmuller will cut him back here, and he does so and takes the position away from Jack Nicholls. So an excellent move there, and here's a replay of Bram Hendreveld coming out of the pit lane. So Hendreveld, obviously, I think that was the car just coming out in front of those two. In fact, it was. Look, Wiesenmuller selling the dummy to Nicholls, and Hendreveld just about getting away with that one. And look how close Nicholls came to hitting the back of Hendreveld there. And Wiesenmuller says, "Thank you very much, I'll cut you back and take the position from you." So Hendreveld's getting out in front of his teammate there, and it's obviously been able to pull a little bit of a gap, and Nicholls hasn't been gapped by Wiesenmuller, so obviously Nicholls' race pace pretty good, and you can see that Hendreveld's nowhere to be seen. And Nicholls is going through on the inside. He's made the slipstream work, and he's gone up the inside of Wiesenmuller, doing exactly the same as what Wiesenmuller did to him on the same corner, and takes the position back from Robert Wiesenmuller. Here is Anthony Levine, and he is covering from newcomer to the series, James Johnson. And we've seen Johnson before on Race Department in several series, and Johnson's going up on the inside of Levine. Levine just drifted a little bit wide there, and Johnson caught him unawares, so the number 85 orange and white machine of James Johnson moves in front of Anthony Levine. Here's Stefan Woudenberg, and he's covering from Wiesenmuller, and these two have already had a little bit of a battle early on, I believe, and Wiesenmuller on the inside of Woudenberg, and this is a carbon copy of the move he did earlier. So Wiesenmuller through on the inside, obviously on a completely different strategy to Woudenberg, and Woudenberg needs to sort out his internet problems a little bit there. There's a little bit of lag going on. Here's Noel Spence in the black and red machine, and he's the Pirate Sim Racing team, and he's going through past Dave Begley, who made a mistake, got sideways, we saw the puff of smoke from the rear tyres of that car, and through goes Spence. Here is James Johnson And James Johnson over the grass just about avoids collecting Steinbach. And that was very close indeed. Those two very close to coming into contact with each other. And James Johnson looks the quicker of the two at this stage. And the number 89 machine of Steinbach is powerless to resist in this instance. And James Johnson goes through and takes the position away. Here's Nichols. And he's in behind Anders Nielsen. And and that's very tight. I think that was Ingemar Petersen. And Anders Nielsen taking advantage of that to get through past Jack Nichols. So although Nichols battling back with him, he's on the inside, nearly touching wheels. And Nielsen covering from that one, but Nielsen still in front of Jack Nichols as they head onto the pit straight. Nichols now in prime position to use the slipstream, and that is indeed Ingemar Petersen in the background. And Nichols on the inside, is he going to go through? He's braking later, and it looks like he's got this one done if he can make it stop in time, and he's covering his line excellently on the way out as well. So he does that very well. And here's Bram Hendreveld, who is in first position, so he managed to get into first position early on and just about kept the lead. And he wins the race, and his strategy, not just his pole position, helped that one for him. Obviously his strategy much better than Robert Wiesenmuller's in the end. And so Bram Hendreveld takes the win from James Johnson. Kenneth Yerman was in third position with newcomer to the series Nichols in fourth. So Johnson and Nichols both putting in a good showing. Frank Steinbach is in fifth position with Robert Wiesenmuller losing out to him in the end in sixth. Anthony Levine, who was a front row sitter, ended up in seventh position with Dave Begley behind him in eighth. Anders Nielsen in ninth position and Stefan Wunenberg in 10th place. Join us again for round 4, which will be up shortly. Until then, thanks for watching.